My younger brother texted in the family group chat at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was lying in bed in my studio apartment, the one I'd moved into after the bankruptcy, when my phone lit up with notification after notification. The apartment was 400 square feet of humiliation in Somerville. Water stains on the ceiling, radiator that clanged like a ghost in chains, a view of the dumpster where I'd actually found a perfectly good lamp last week. 6 months ago, I'd had a 5-bedroom house in Palo Alto with a Tesla in the garage and a wine cellar worth more than most people's cars. Now I had a mattress on the floor and a hot plate for cooking. The notification sound kept pinging. Family group chat, Morrison family forever 2 hearts. Linda had added the emoji when she created it, back when I was still the success story she could brag about. Tyler's message appeared in green bubbles. Don't come to my engagement party. You're going to embarrass me in front of my girlfriend's family. They're high society. Old money. They don't need to know I have a failure for a brother. Before I could even process the cruelty, the reactions started flooding in. My parents spammed heart reactions immediately. 7 hearts from Mom Linda Morrison, the woman who'd given birth to me but apparently not mothered me. 3 thumbs up from Dad Robert Morrison, whose approval I'd spent 37 years trying to earn. Even my sister Claire, who usually stayed neutral in family dynamics, added a 100 emoji with the prayer hands. I stared at the screen for 30 seconds, watching more reactions pile up from aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone agreeing that I, James Morrison, 37 years old, former owner of a successful tech startup, current victim of a hostile takeover, was too embarrassing to attend my own brother's engagement party. I typed 3 letters. Got it. Then I set my phone aside and smiled in the darkness. Because what they didn't know was that Tyler's fiancée, the supposedly high society Jessica Vanderbilt, had already messaged me privately 3 hours earlier with a very different message. Play along with whatever Tyler says. I'm not who they think I am. Your grandfather hired me 2 years ago. Everything is about to change. The next morning at 6 a.m., they showed up at my door, all of them. Tyler, my parents, even Claire, furious, demanding, entitled. And behind them stood Jessica, who looked at me with eyes that said, "It's time." "I'm not Jessica Vanderbilt," she announced calmly. "I'm Sarah Chun, private investigator. I've spent 2 years documenting every crime your family has committed against James. And now, everyone is going to know the truth. I should have seen this coming, but not in the way you'd think. I'd suspected for months that something was off about Tyler's whirlwind romance. My brother, who'd never held a relationship longer than 3 months, suddenly engaged to a Vanderbilt heiress? The same brother who lived off our parents' money while claiming to be a successful entrepreneur? But I never imagined Grandpa Joe was behind it. My 91-year-old grandfather, who everyone thought was declining into dementia, had orchestrated the most elaborate sting operation I'd ever seen. Let me back up. My name is James Morrison. Actually, that's not entirely true, but we'll get to that. Until 18 months ago, I was the success story of the Morrison family. MIT graduate, founded a cybersecurity firm at 25, sold it for $8 million at 30, started another company that was valued at $40 million by my 35th birthday. I was the one my parents bragged about at country club dinners, the one whose photo sat prominently on their mantle. Tyler, 3 years younger, was the perpetual screw-up who somehow remained the favorite. Failed out of college twice. Started 7 businesses that all folded within months. Lived in our parents' pool house at 34. But he was charming, handsome in that Kennedy way, and had our mother's blue eyes while I had brown eyes that no one in the family could explain. The reversal of our fortunes started 2 years ago. My company, SecureNet, was thriving. We just landed a contract with the Department of Defense worth $200 million over 5 years. I was in negotiations to take the company public. Life was perfect. Then the attack started. First, our servers were hacked on a Friday afternoon. The timing was deliberate, I realize now. Maximum damage over a weekend when our skeleton crew couldn't respond fast enough. Client data wasn't stolen, but the breach made headlines. Defense contractor SecureNet breached. Is your data safe? The DoD pulled their contract within 48 hours. No investigation, no second chance. Someone had made sure they'd have zero tolerance. Next came the leaked emails. They appeared on WikiLeaks, of all places, suggesting I'd been embezzling funds. The emails looked perfect, headers, metadata, even my writing style. My CFO, Marcus Webb, who I'd trusted for 5 years, went on CNBC to say he'd always had concerns about James's accounting practices. What the cameras didn't catch was the Rolex on his wrist, the same model Tyler wore, purchased the same week, I'd later learn. The killing blow came through my CTO, Jennifer Park. She testified to the FBI that I'd sold trade secrets to Chinese companies. She had recorded conversations where I supposedly discussed the Beijing deal. The recordings were sophisticated deepfakes, but by the time we proved it, the damage was done. Our top 3 clients, Fortune 500 companies who couldn't afford the association, terminated their contracts on the same day. Within 6 months, I was fighting 17 lawsuits from investors. The legal bills were astronomical, $50,000 a week just for defense attorneys. I sold my house to pay them, moved into increasingly smaller apartments as the money ran out. My fiancée, Rebecca, tried to stand by me, but when her father threatened to disown her for associating with a criminal, she left. I didn't blame her. I looked guilty even to myself. By month 8, I was forced to declare bankruptcy. Chapter 7, Complete Liquidation. The company I'd built from a dorm room idea was sold for parts. The patents I'd developed went to a competitor for pennies on the dollar. The team I'd assembled, brilliant people I'd handpicked, scattered to the wind, their faith in me destroyed. The FBI investigation concluded with insufficient evidence to prosecute. Not innocent, just insufficient evidence. In the court of public opinion, that meant guilty but clever. My family's reaction had been the cruelest cut. "Maybe this will teach you humility," my mother said when I told her about the bankruptcy. "You always flew too close to the sun," my father added, mixing metaphors as usual. "Tyler?" He actually smiled. "Welcome to the normal people club, bro." I moved back to Massachusetts, got the studio apartment in Somerville, started applying for jobs. With my reputation destroyed, no one in tech would touch me. I applied to consulting firms, teaching positions, even retail management. Nothing. That's when Tyler announced he was dating Jessica Vanderbilt. The Vanderbilts, yes, those Vanderbilts were American royalty. Old money that made our parents $6 million in assets look like pocket change. Jessica was beautiful, sophisticated, had a PhD in art history from Yale. What she saw in Tyler was anyone's guess. "She loves my entrepreneurial spirit," Tyler explained at a family dinner I'd reluctantly attended. "What entrepreneurial spirit?" I'd asked. "Your last business was selling essential oils to soccer moms." "It was a wellness company," he corrected. "And Jessica's family is very interested in funding my next venture." That venture, he explained over dessert, was a luxury concierge service for billionaires. Never mind that Tyler had never successfully managed anything, including his own checking account. Jessica's family was supposedly ready to invest $10 million. I should have known something was off when Jessica winked at me during that dinner. Just a quick wink when Tyler was bloviating about his business acumen. But I was too deep in my own misery to notice. For the next year, I watched Tyler transform into someone even more insufferable. He moved out of the pool house into a penthouse Jessica's family supposedly owned. He drove a Bentley. He wore $10,000 watches. And at every family gathering, the contrast between us became more stark. Tyler's really found himself. Mom would say, loud enough for me to hear, "Success chooses those who are ready for it." Dad would add, looking pointedly at me. The text about the engagement party shouldn't have surprised me. The party was being held at the Vanderbilt estate in Newport, Rhode Island. 300 guests, including senators, CEOs, actual royalty from Europe. Of course, they didn't want the bankrupt brother there, living proof that the Morrison genes weren't all perfect. But Jessica's private message changed everything. "Your grandfather contacted me 2 years ago," she'd written, "before your company was destroyed. He knew what was coming. He hired me to get close to Tyler and gather evidence. I've been playing the role of Jessica Vanderbilt, but I'm actually Sarah Chun, private investigator. Your grandfather has been playing a longer game than anyone realizes." I'd read the message 10 times, sure I was being pranked. But she'd included a photo, her with Grandpa Joe at his nursing home, dated 3 years ago, before anyone knew who Jessica Vanderbilt was. Why? I texted back. Come to the engagement party. Everything will be revealed. But first, let Tyler ban you. Let them all show their true colors. So I'd played along. Accepted my exile with 3 letters. Got it. What I didn't expect was the 6 a.m. ambush. They'd driven straight from Newport to Somerville, a 2-hour drive fueled by rage. Tyler was pounding on my door so hard I thought he'd break it down. Open up, you piece of shit. I opened the door to find Tyler red-faced and shaking, our parents behind him looking equally furious, and Jessica, Sarah, standing at the back with a serene expression. You think you're funny? Tyler snarled, pushing into my apartment. Showing up at my engagement party after I specifically told you not to come? I didn't show up, I said calmly. I'm literally in my pajamas in Somerville. Don't lie, Mom screeched. The security footage showed you at the gate. That's impossible. I've been here all night. Then who? Tyler started, then turned to Jessica. Tell him how he ruined everything. Jessica stepped forward, and her entire demeanor changed. The giggly, adoring fiancé persona evaporated, replaced by someone sharp, professional, dangerous. I'm not Jessica Vanderbilt, she said simply, her voice carrying a different accent now. Not the practiced Connecticut lockjaw she'd used for 2 years, but something sharper, more real. My name is Sarah Chun. I'm a private investigator hired by Joseph Morrison to investigate the systematic destruction of James Morrison's life and the theft of his inheritance. The room went silent. Mom's face drained of color, going from her usual Botox-frozen perfection to something gray and hollow. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Tyler looked like he'd been punched in the stomach, doubling over slightly, his hands gripping the doorframe. What inheritance? I asked, though my heart was already racing, pieces of a puzzle I didn't know existed suddenly clicking together. The Chen name, my middle name that Mom always said came from her grandmother. The way Asian restaurants always assumed I was at least part Chinese. The accounting discrepancies in family finances I'd noticed but never questioned. Sarah pulled out a tablet, swiped to a document with practiced efficiency. The screen showed official seal of the state of Massachusetts, probate court. Your biological grandmother, Mei-Ling Chun, left you $47 million when she died 15 years ago. You never received it because your parents, she looked at Mom and Dad with undisguised contempt, hid it and have been living off the interest while telling you that you had no connection to the Chen fortune. That's impossible, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Dad's mother was Patricia Morrison. She's still alive in Florida. She sends Christmas cards with $5 bills in them. Robert Morrison isn't your biological father, Sarah said gently, her voice softening for the first time since she'd dropped her cover. Your mother had an affair with David Chun, Mei-Ling's son. When David died in a car accident 7 months before you were born, Mei-Ling set up the trust for her grandchild. Your mother convinced her you'd receive it when you turned 21. Instead, she's been stealing it for 16 years. I looked at my mother, really looked at her for the first time. The designer clothes she wore while telling me to shop at Goodwill. The new Mercedes she drove while I took the bus. The vacation home in the Hamptons she claimed was a smart investment, while I was evicted from my apartment. Is this true? I managed to ask. It's complicated, she whispered, her voice cracking on the word. It's theft, Sarah corrected, her professional mask back in place. It's also fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and violation of fiduciary duty. Because Tyler knew. He's known for 5 years. Tyler dropped Mom's arm like it was burning. That's a lie. Sarah swiped to another document. 3 years ago, you accessed your mother's email and discovered the trust documents. Instead of telling James, you blackmailed your parents for $2 million to start your businesses. When that ran out, you decided to destroy James's company, so he'd never have the resources to investigate his true parentage. You're insane, Tyler said, but his voice was shaking. Sarah pulled up another screen. The hack on SecureNet servers originated from an IP address traced to Tyler's apartment. The CFO who testified against James? Tyler paid him $300,000 from an account funded by the Chun Trust. The forged documents? Created on Tyler's computer. He didn't know his Bentley's navigation system logs Wi-Fi connections, including his home network. She kept swiping, showing document after document. Tyler hiring hackers on the dark web. Tyler meeting with my CFO. Tyler accessing my email through our parents' family phone plan. Tyler systematically destroying everything I'd built. But the best part, Sarah continued, is that Tyler isn't Robert Morrison's son either. Dad, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke. What? Linda had another affair. Tyler's biological father is actually her divorce lawyer from her first marriage. Oh, didn't you know about that either, Robert? Linda was married before you, to Thomas Mitchell, who she divorced after embezzling from his law firm. She used the money to reinvent herself as Linda Chun, seduced you for your money, then continued her affair with Thomas. Tyler is Thomas's son. So neither of us are Morrisons? I asked, my head spinning. Actually, Sarah said, you're more Morrison than Tyler. Your biological grandmother, Mailing? Her maiden name was Morrison. She was Robert's father's sister. You're Robert's biological first cousin once removed. Tyler has no Morrison blood at all. Robert sat down hard on my second-hand couch. My Aunt Mailing. She married into the Chin family. I remember now, but she died when I was young. She died when James was 22, Sarah corrected. You were told she died decades ago because Linda didn't want you knowing about the Chin fortune. She's been collecting checks from the estate and depositing them into accounts you don't know about. This is all lies. Mom screamed. You can't prove any of this. Sarah smiled. Joseph Morrison, Grandpa Joe, has been recording every conversation in your house for 3 years. He had dementia, remember? No one paid attention to the confused old man with hearing aids. Except the hearing aids were recording devices, and the dementia was an act. She pulled up an audio file. Mom's voice filled the room. Tyler, I don't care what you have to do. James can never find out about the Chin money. If he discovers he's worth $47 million, we're finished. Do whatever it takes to keep him desperate and dependent. Then Tyler's voice, already on it. By next month, his company will be worthless. He'll be too broke to investigate anything. You recorded us illegally, Tyler shouted. Actually, Sarah said, Massachusetts is a two-party consent state, but Grandpa Joe's nursing home is in New Hampshire, one-party consent. He drove down every Sunday for family dinner wearing a wire. Completely legal. The room was spinning. Everything I thought I knew was wrong. My father wasn't my father. My mother was a serial embezzler. My brother had destroyed my life for money that wasn't even his. Why? I asked Tyler. I would have shared everything with you. I always did. Shared. Tyler laughed bitterly. You mean like how you shared the spotlight? Always the genius, the success, the one going places. You had everything and you still would have gotten the Chin fortune. It wasn't fair. So you destroyed me? I leveled the playing field. You committed felonies, Sarah interjected. Wire fraud, computer fraud, conspiracy, extortion. The FBI has been building a case for 6 months. They're waiting outside. Tyler ran for the door, yanked it open, and found 2 FBI agents standing in the hallway. Tyler Mitchell, that's your legal name. By the way, you're under arrest for violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit fraud. As they cuffed him, Tyler looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Yes, I said quietly. It is. They led him away. Mom tried to follow, but another agent stopped her. Linda Morrison, you're also under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and theft. Dad Robert, the man I called Dad for 37 years, stood up slowly. I need to process this. James, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I know, I said, and I did. Robert was many things, Distant, work-obsessed, emotionally unavailable. But he wasn't a criminal. He was just another one of Mom's victims. After they were all gone, Tyler and Mom in custody, Robert driving home in a daze, Sarah and I stood in my small apartment. "So you're not really engaged to my brother?" She laughed. "God, no. These have been the worst 2 years of my life. Your brother is insufferable. Do you know he actually tried to get me to invest in a company that sells air? Like bottles of air from different cities. He called it atmospheric tourism. That sounds like Tyler. The hardest part was pretending to be charmed by his stupidity. And the sex." She shuddered. "Let's just say he's as selfish in bed as everywhere else." "You slept with him?" "Had to maintain cover. But I thought of it as taking one for the team." "Your team, specifically. Why did Grandpa Joe hire you?" "He knew something was wrong when your company started having problems. You were too smart, too careful to suddenly have everything go wrong. So he hired me to investigate. When I discovered what Tyler was doing, we decided to let him think he'd won while we gathered evidence." "And the Vanderbilt identity?" "My colleague's actual name is Jessica Vanderbilt. She's a trust fund kid turned PI. She let me borrow her identity, even did a few video calls with your parents to sell the con. Your family was so eager to believe Tyler had hooked a billionaire heiress. They never did any real checking." I sat down, overwhelmed. "So I'm actually worth 47 million? More, actually. With interest and investments, it's closer to 53 million. Plus, you have a strong case for damages against Tyler and your mother. You'll likely recover another 10 to 15 million. And my company? With Tyler's confession and the evidence of sabotage, your reputation will be restored. Your investors are already talking about backing your next venture." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it to find a selfie of Grandpa Joe in what was clearly a FBI surveillance van, giving a thumbs up. "Not bad for a demented old man." His message read, "Come visit tomorrow. We have a lot to discuss." Sarah stood to leave. "I should go. The FBI will need my testimony." "But James, your real story is just beginning." "Wait," I said. "Why Chin? Are you related to?" "David Chun was my uncle," she said. "Mei Ling was my great-aunt. When Grandpa Joe hired me, I didn't know we were related. When I found out, it became personal. Tyler didn't just steal from you. He stole from our family." "So you're my cousin?" "Second cousin, technically," which made pretending to be in love with Tyler even more disgusting. "Since he knew you and I were related and still." She shuddered again. "I need therapy. So much therapy." After she left, I sat in my empty apartment, trying to process everything. In 12 hours, I'd gone from the family embarrassment to the only legitimate heir to 2 fortunes. My brother was going to federal prison. My mother was going to jail. My father, Robert, wasn't my father but was somehow still family. My phone rang. "Robert." "James? I'm at the house. I found something you need to see." I drove to my childhood home in Wellesley, the massive colonial that I now knew was bought with stolen Chin money. Robert was in his study, surrounded by boxes. "After Linda was arrested, I started going through everything," he said. "I found this." He handed me a photo album I'd never seen. Inside were pictures of a young Asian man who looked startlingly like me. David Chun, my biological father. "I knew him," Robert said quietly. "He was my cousin through Aunt Mei Ling. He used to come to family gatherings. Linda met him at our wedding." "Your wedding?" "He was a groomsman. My aunt insisted. Linda was attracted to him. I thought it was harmless flirtation. When he died in the car accident, Linda was devastated. Now I know why." He flipped to another page. A photo of David holding a baby. Me. This was hidden in Linda's jewelry box. "Look at the back." I turned it over. In faded ink, David with our son James, 3 months old. "My 2 loves." "She loved him," I said. "She loved his money," Robert corrected. "David was heir to the Chun fortune. When he died, she saw an opportunity. She convinced me to raise you as mine, never telling me about the inheritance. She's been playing a long game for 37 years. Did you ever suspect that you weren't mine? Sometimes. You looked nothing like me. But Linda always said you took after her father. I never met him. He died before we met, so I believed her. And Tyler? I suspected he wasn't mine from the day he was born. He looked exactly like Thomas Mitchell, Linda's divorce lawyer who seemed to always be around. But by then, I was too deep in the lie. 2 kids, a mortgage, a dental practice to run. It was easier to pretend. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm sorry, Robert said finally, for favoring Tyler, for letting Linda treat you as less than. You were the better son in every way, blood or not. Why did you favor him? Because Linda insisted. She said you were independent, strong, didn't need encouragement. Tyler was fragile, needed support. I see now she was protecting her biological child while marginalizing the evidence of her affair with David. What will you do now? Divorce Linda, obviously. Sell this house. I can't live with these memories. Maybe travel. I've always wanted to see Asia. Ironic, right? Maybe I'll visit the Chun ancestral home in Beijing. Mei Ling's family is from Beijing? Originally, they immigrated in the 1940s, built their fortune in import-export. Your biological grandfather, Mei Ling's husband, was one of the first Chinese Americans to build a billion-dollar company. Billion? Robert smiled sadly. Oh, James, the 47 million? That's just what Mei Ling left you personally. The Chen family trust is worth over 2 billion. And as David's only child, you're the sole heir. I stared at him. 2 billion? Why do you think Linda worked so hard to hide your parentage? She couldn't access the main trust that required DNA proof of Chen lineage. But she could steal from Mei Ling's personal bequest. She's been living off your money while keeping you from a fortune that makes our entire family wealth look like pocket change. My phone buzzed. Sarah texting, "Check the news." I turned on my phone to find my face on every major news site. Tech founder framed by brother in billions-dollar inheritance scandal. The story was everywhere. Tyler's arrest, mom's fraud, the Chen fortune. All of it. My phone exploded with calls and texts. Former investors apologizing, offering funding. Friends who'd disappeared during my bankruptcy suddenly concerned. Job offers from every major tech company. I turned it all off. What will you do? Robert asked. I don't know. Get my company back, I guess. Clear my name. Figure out how to manage a fortune I never knew existed. Be careful, he warned. Money like that changes everything. Look what it did to Linda, to Tyler. Don't let it corrupt you too. It won't. How can you be sure? Because I've been broke. Really broke. Counting change for ramen broke. Taught me that money isn't identity. Tyler never learned that lesson. He thought wealth made him worthy. When he found out I had more, he had to destroy me to feel valuable again. And Linda, she thought money could buy legitimacy. She stole from the Chens to become a Morrison, never realizing she was destroying the very family she was trying to build. Robert stood to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, biology aside, you'll always be my son. The son I should have protected, should have chosen, should have seen for who you really are. I know, I said, and you'll always be my dad. Biology doesn't change 37 years of history. Even the bad history, especially that, it made me who I am. After he left, I drove to the federal detention center where Tyler was being held. I wasn't on his visitor list, but Sarah had arranged special permission through her FBI contacts. The visiting room was depressing in its attempted normalcy. Vending machines humming against one wall, plastic chairs bolted to the floor, motivational posters about second chances that felt more like mockery than inspiration. Tyler was already seated when they brought me in, his hands folded on the metal table between us. He looked smaller in the orange jumpsuit, his Kennedy good looks diminished by fluorescent lighting and fear. His hair, usually perfectly styled with $100 product, hung limp. The confident smirk that had tormented me for years was gone, replaced by something hollow. "Come to gloat?" he asked, not meeting my eyes. come to understand. Why, Tyler? We could have been real brothers. I would have shared everything. That's exactly why I hated you, he said, finally looking up. His eyes were bloodshot, with dark circles that spoke of sleepless nights. Your generosity, your success, your genuine goodness. Do you know what it's like growing up in the shadow of someone who's better than you in every way? You weren't in my shadow. Mom and Dad loved you more. You were the golden child. I was the consolation prize, he spat. They loved what I represented, their real son. The one they could pretend was Robert's. But every achievement I had was compared to yours. Tyler got a B+, but James got straight A's. Tyler's business idea is interesting, but remember when James built that computer in 8th grade? Even my successes were failures next to yours. So you decided to destroy me? I decided to become you. Or better, to become what you were while making you nothing. With your money, your company gone, I could be the success story. Mom promised that once you were broken, she'd redirect the chin money to me. I'd be the millionaire, the genius, the one everyone admired. But you knew we weren't really brothers. Tyler laughed, the sound bitter and sharp. We were never brothers. You were the interloper, the evidence of Mom's affair. Every time Dad looked at you, he saw David Chun, the man Mom actually loved. Every time he looked at me, he saw Thomas Mitchell, the lawyer she fucked out of spite. Neither of us were his, but at least I looked like I could be. You, with those eyes, that bone structure, you were a daily reminder of Mom's betrayal. Robert loves you. Robert tolerates me. He loves you. Even when you failed, he loved you. Do you know he has a storage unit full of your achievements? Every article about your company, every award, every photo. Nothing about me. Not one participation trophy from my mediocre existence. Because you never achieved anything. Because I was never given the chance. You took all the oxygen in the room just by existing. How could I compete with the genius older brother who built companies and wrote code that DARPA wanted to classify? I tried to help you. Every business, every scheme, I offered to help. I didn't want your help. I wanted your life. I wanted to wake up and be James Morrison, the natural success. Instead, I woke up every day as Tyler Morrison, the expensive disappointment. So you hired people to destroy me, paid my CFO to lie, created deepfakes, forged documents. That took planning, Tyler. That took months of deliberate cruelty. 2 years, actually, he said quietly. I started planning the day I found out about the Chun Trust. Mom was drunk, crying about how unfair it was that David's bastard would inherit millions while her real son got nothing. That's when I learned the truth about everything. About you, about me, about the money. I could have told you, but why? So you could have millions while I had nothing. I would have shared it. I know. Tyler slammed his hands on the table. The guard stepped forward, but Tyler raised his hands apologetically. That's what made it worse. You would have given me half without thinking twice. Do you know how humiliating that would be? Taking charity from the brother who wasn't even supposed to exist. It wouldn't have been charity. It would have been love. Love. Tyler tested the word like foreign food. You want to know something fucked up? The only time I felt Mom truly loved me was when we were destroying you together. Planning your downfall, executing it, watching you lose everything. It was the only time she looked at me with actual pride. That's not love. That's shared sociopathy. Maybe, but it felt like love to someone who'd never had the real thing. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 34 years of dysfunction between us. You know what the irony is? Tyler continued. I'm actually smart. IQ of 145. I could have built something real. But Mom always said I didn't need to work hard. I was special just for existing. You? She told you the opposite. Work twice as hard because you'd never be special. She broke us both, just in different ways. We could have united against her manipulation. We could have, Tyler agreed. But I chose to join her instead. I chose to be the golden child even knowing it was pyrite. Fool's gold for a fool's son. You inspired Jessica, Sarah, to pretend to love you for 2 years. For money. Everything in my life has been for money. Mom's love, conditional on not exposing her. Dad's tolerance bought with false promises. Even my friends only came around when I was supposedly marrying a Vanderbilt. So what now? Now I go to prison. 10 to 15 years, my lawyer says. Mom's looking at 20. Apparently embezzling from a family trust carries harsh sentences. When I get out, I'll be 50, broke, unemployable. The Morrison name will be toxic. You were never a Morrison anyway. Neither were you. No, I agreed. I'm a Chun. And apparently that's worth $2 billion. Tyler's face twisted with rage. You always land on your feet. I land on my feet because I get knocked down and get back up. You've never been knocked down because Mom always caught you. Now you'll learn what it's like to fall without a net. Any advice? Yeah, learn to like ramen. You'll be eating a lot of it. I left him there in federal detention, awaiting trial. Mom was in the women's facility, but I had no desire to see her. 37 years of lies were enough. Grandpa Joe was waiting for me at his nursing home, except he wasn't in his room. He was in the administrator's office, wearing a suit, looking nothing like the confused elderly man I'd visited for years. James! He stood, hugged me firmly. No tremor in his hands, no confusion in his eyes. Surprise. You never had dementia? Oh, I had it. For about 6 months, 5 years ago. Mild cognitive impairment, really, but it cleared up with medication. I just kept pretending. Why? Because demented old men are invisible. Linda and Tyler said things around me they'd never say otherwise. I became the perfect spy in my own family. How long have you known? About the Chun inheritance? 20 years. Mei Ling contacted me when you were 17, wanted to meet her grandson. Linda threatened legal action, said it would confuse you. I believed her then, but I kept tabs on the situation. And Tyler's sabotage? I suspected when your company started having problems. You're too smart to fail that spectacularly without help. So I hired Sarah. When she discovered the connection to David Chun, her uncle, she became personally invested. You could have told me years ago. With what proof? Linda had covered her tracks well. We needed Tyler to expose himself to commit crimes we could prove. Your bankruptcy was unfortunate but necessary. Necessary? I lost everything. You lost money. You gained truth. Which is worth more? I thought about it. The last 18 months had been hell, but they'd also taught me who I really was when everything was stripped away. Truth, I admitted. Good answer. Now, let's talk about your future. He pulled out a folder. The Chun family board meets next month. As David's heir, you'll be confirmed as CEO of Chun Industries. $2 billion in assets, mostly commercial real estate and import-export. But there's a catch. There always is. You need to be married. Mei Ling's will specifies that the heir must be married to inherit the full amount. Unmarried, you only get the $47 million. That's still a lot. It's not about the money. It's about the message. The Chun family values stability, family continuity. An unmarried CEO suggests instability. So I need to get married in a month? Or engaged, at least. The board is traditional but not unreasonable. Any suggestions? Because my dating life has been non-existent since the bankruptcy. Grandpa Joe smiled. Actually, yes. There's someone I want you to meet. She walked in then, and my world shifted. Asian, about my age, professional but warm. Something familiar about her eyes. James, meet Amy Chin. She's the family's legal counsel. Also, your third cousin. Third cousin. Amy laughed. Don't worry. Perfectly legal to marry third cousins in Massachusetts. Though that's not why I'm here. Why are you here? Because I've been managing the Chun Trust for 5 years, waiting for you to claim it. I've read every report about you, every article about your company. I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like I know you. And I think you're remarkable. Building a company from nothing, losing it all, maintaining your integrity throughout. The family needs leadership like yours. So this is a business arrangement? No, Amy said firmly. This is me shooting my shot with a man I've admired from afar for 5 years. The fact that it helps with the inheritance is just a bonus. Grandpa Joe stood to leave. I'll let you two talk. Amy and I talked for 3 hours. She was brilliant, funny, had a PhD from Harvard in economics. She turned down offers from Wall Street to manage the family trust, believing in legacy over profit. She was also beautiful in that specific way that suggested generations of good genes and better education. High cheekbones that photographed perfectly, posture that came from childhood ballet, hands that moved with precision whether signing documents or holding chopsticks. But it was her mind that captivated me. She could discuss cryptocurrency regulations and Tang Dynasty poetry with equal expertise. I know this is fast, she said, adjusting her Cartier watch nervously. But I've been waiting for you to be free. Not just legally free from marriage, but free from the delusions Tyler and Linda created. When Sarah told me Tyler was going down, I knew it was time. You were part of the sting? Peripheral. I provided the financial documentation Sarah needed. Every dollar Linda stole, I tracked on spreadsheets that would make forensic accountants weep with joy. Every crime Tyler committed, I documented with the kind of detail that prosecutors dream about. I have PDFs organized by date, cross-referenced by statute, with executive summaries that a jury could understand. Why? You didn't know me. But I did, she said, pulling out a worn folder. Inside were articles about my company, photos from tech conferences, even my MIT thesis with notes in the margins. I've been studying you for 5 years. Not in a creepy way, okay, maybe slightly creepy, but as the future CEO of Chun Industries. I needed to know if you were worthy of the legacy. And you donated 60% of your first company's sale to fund STEM programs in inner-city schools. You hired ex-convicts when other tech companies wouldn't touch them. When that janitor's kid needed cancer treatment, you paid for it anonymously. Yes, I know about that. Financial records don't lie. You're the kind of billionaire the world needs. I wasn't a billionaire then. You were always a billionaire. Linda just hit it. But money aside, you have something rarer than wealth, integrity. When you could have declared personal bankruptcy to save your assets, you chose Chapter 11 to pay your creditors. You lost everything to keep your word. Honor doesn't pay bills. No, but $2 billion does. And honor ensures you'll use it correctly. She showed me her plans for Chun Industries. Sustainable development in Southeast Asia, microloans for women entrepreneurs, converting the entire supply chain to carbon neutral by 2030. It was exactly what I would have proposed if I'd known to dream this big. There's another reason I waited, she said quietly. The family curse. Curse. Every Chin heir for 3 generations has been destroyed by the person they loved most. Your great-grandfather by his brother. Your grandfather by his business partner. Your father by the woman he was going to marry, your mother. Linda didn't just seduce David for money. She loved him in her twisted way. His death broke something in her. She's been trying to resurrect him through you while hating you for not being him. And you think you'll destroy me? I think the curse ends with us. Because we're choosing each other with full transparency. No lies, no hidden fortunes, no secret investigations. Just truth. The bar is pretty low. All you have to do is not steal millions and frame me for crimes. I can probably manage that, she laughed. Though I should mention, I am technically your 3rd cousin. What? Your great-grandmother Mei Ling was my great-great-aunt. In Chinese culture, that makes us family but not too family. Perfectly legal to marry. Optimal for keeping the fortune consolidated. This is sounding very Game of Thrones. More like Crazy Rich Asians meets The Godfather, with fewer murders. Hopefully. We laughed, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope, not just for financial recovery, but for an actual future. So, I said, want to go to an engagement party? Whose? Ours. If we're doing this, might as well make Tyler's fake engagement look pathetic by comparison. Amy smiled. I know just the place. The Chun Estate in Newport. There's a Chun Estate in Newport? Right next to the Vanderbilt Estate. Your great-grandmother bought it in 1982 just to irritate them. She loved being new money next to old money. Said it kept them humble. I never knew any of this. There's a lot you don't know, but I'll teach you, if you'll let me. I looked at this woman, brilliant, beautiful, connected to my heritage in ways I was only beginning to understand. It was crazy to consider marriage, but everything about the last 48 hours had been crazy. Okay, I said, but we do this right. Real dating, real relationship. The engagement can be for show, but what comes after needs to be real. Agreed. Though I should warn you, I've been half in love with you since I read your MIT thesis on quantum encryption. Anyone who can make cryptography romantic has my attention. You read my thesis? 3 times. It's brilliant. Want to know my favorite part? We talked until midnight about quantum mechanics, family history, the future of Chun Industries. Amy had plans, sustainable development, ethical importing, using the fortune for social good. Everything I would have suggested if I'd known to dream this big. The board meets in 3 weeks, she said finally. Think we can convince them we're real by then? We convinced them with truth. We met because of family circumstances. We connected over shared values. We're choosing partnership for the company and ourselves. If that's not real, what is? You know Tyler will hear about this in prison. Good. Let him know that while he's eating bologna sandwiches, I'm running a billion-dollar empire with a woman who actually loves me. Not for money, but for who I am. Who are you? James Chun Morrison, son of David Chun and Linda Morrison, raised by Robert Morrison, grandson of Mei Ling Chin, heir to the Chin fortune, former bankrupt, current Phoenix, future CEO. And if you'll have me, your future husband. Amy kissed me then, soft and sure. I'll have you. On one condition. What? We serve ramen at the engagement party. Good ramen from that place in Chinatown. I want everyone to remember where you came from, what you survived. Deal. But we're also having champagne. The really good stuff. How good? $2,000 a bottle good. Tyler once bragged about drinking it at the Vanderbilt estate. Let's buy every bottle they have. Amy laughed. Petty. I like it. The engagement party was held 3 weeks later at the Chun estate in Newport. 300 guests, including everyone who'd attended Tyler's supposed engagement. The party that never actually happened because Jessica had revealed herself before it could. The Chen estate was a 40-room mansion built in 1923, purchased by my great-grandmother in 1982, specifically to irritate the old money families who thought new Asian money didn't belong in Newport. She'd outbid 3 Vanderbilts and a Rockefeller for it, then thrown parties that made the Great Gatsby look like a church picnic. I stood at the entrance, greeting everyone personally in a Tom Ford tuxedo that cost more than my monthly rent had been. The contrast wasn't lost on me. 3 weeks ago, I'd been counting quarters for ramen. Now I was wearing a watch worth more than most people's houses. The shock on their faces was delicious. These were the same people who'd RSVP'd to Tyler's engagement, ready to celebrate him marrying into the Vanderbilt fortune. James? But we heard you were bankrupt? I was. Turns out, being destroyed by your criminal brother makes for excellent evidence in federal court. Also turns out I've been a billionaire this whole time. My mother just forgot to mention it while stealing the interest. Senator Morrison, no relation, despite the name, nearly choked on his champagne. Billionaire. $2.3 billion to be exact. The Chun family fortune. I'm David Chen's only heir. You probably knew him. He died in that car accident in '87, 3 months before I was born. Anyway, welcome to my great-grandmother's estate. Try the dim sum. It's a family recipe. The Newport elite didn't know how to respond. These were people who buried scandals, not announced them at parties. But the Chun name carried weight that transcended scandal. $2 billion buys a lot of forgiveness. The ballroom had been transformed by Amy's vision. Red silk lanterns alternated with crystal chandeliers, east meeting west in perfect harmony. Ice sculptures of dragons flanked a traditional Newport society orchestra, while a separate room featured a DJ spinning K-pop and mandopop. The catering was fusion at its finest. Lobster dim sum, truffle fried rice, champagne and baijiu. It's perfect, I told Amy as we watched senators mingle with Chinese business moguls. Old money chatting with new tech billionaires. It's strategic, she corrected. Every person here will remember that the Chens aren't just rich, we're powerful. Your brother thought he was marrying into influence. You're demonstrating that you are influence. Robert arrived with Grandpa Joe, both in matching tuxedos that Grandpa had insisted on buying. If I'm going to reveal I've been faking dementia for 3 years, I'm going to look spectacular doing it, he'd said. The reveal of Grandpa's deception had been almost as shocking as everything else. The nursing home staff couldn't believe it. He's been playing bridge at championship level this whole time? The director had gasped. We thought he couldn't remember the rules. I stood with Amy, raising a glass of that $2,000 champagne Tyler had bragged about. The room quieted, 300 of America's most powerful people waiting to hear what the newly revealed billionaire would say. 3 weeks ago, I began, letting my voice carry across the ballroom. My brother sent a text saying I wasn't welcome at his engagement party, that I'd embarrass him in front of high society, that a bankrupt failure didn't belong among the elite. I paused, scanning the room. Several people had the grace to look ashamed. They'd been on that group chat, had seen the hearts and thumbs up, had participated in my humiliation. He was right. I would have embarrassed him by existing, by succeeding despite his sabotage, by being everything he pretended to be. But more than that, I would have embarrassed him with the truth. The truth that he orchestrated my bankruptcy. The truth that our mother stole $47 million from me. The truth that I've been heir to the Chun fortune since birth. A fortune now worth $2.3 billion. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even among the ultra-wealthy, that number commanded respect. But tonight isn't about Tyler or Linda or the federal crimes they're being prosecuted for. It's about truth. The truth that family isn't blood, it's choice. The truth that wealth isn't worth, it's responsibility. The truth that love isn't transaction, it's transformation. I looked at Amy, who was smiling with tears in her eyes. Amy Chun has transformed me, from orphan to heir, from alone to allied, from bitter to better. So let's toast to truth, to transformation, and to Tyler, who's watching this on the news from federal detention. Brother, you were right. I would have embarrassed you, by being real when you were fake, by earning what you stole, by finding love while you found handcuffs. The room erupted in surprised applause. These people were used to polite speeches that ignored controversy. My bluntness was refreshing. Sarah Chun, formerly Jessica Vanderbilt, stood next. She'd been invited as family. My second cousin, the hero who'd spent 2 years pretending to love Tyler to save me. I've been to a lot of engagement parties, she said. But this is the first where the groom knows exactly who his bride is and vice versa. No lies, no cons, no fake identities. Just truth. Boring, beautiful truth. More laughter, more champagne, more celebration. The party went until dawn, the Chun estate blazing with light while the Vanderbilt estate next door sat dark and empty. The real Vanderbilts were in Europe, had been for months. Tyler's engagement party had been at a rental venue in town. The Vanderbilt estate, another lie. As the sun rose over the Atlantic, Amy and I stood on the terrace, watching the waves. Any regrets? She asked. About what? The last 3 weeks. Meeting me. Getting engaged. Taking over a fortune you never knew existed. No regrets. Well, one. What? I wish I'd known sooner. About all of it. The Chun fortune, Tyler's crimes, Mom's theft. I could have avoided so much pain. But would you be who you are now? I thought about it. Without the bankruptcy, would I have learned humility? Without Tyler's betrayal, would I have recognized Amy's authenticity? Without losing everything, would I value having everything? No, I admitted. I'd probably be another entitled tech bro with more money than sense. Instead, you're an entitled tech bro with more money than God and perfect sense. 2 billion isn't more than God. It's more than some small country's GDP. Which ones? Vanuatu for one. I could buy a country? You could buy several countries. But please don't. The paperwork would be a nightmare. We were married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just family, the real family. Robert, Grandpa Joe, Sarah, Amy's parents, a few cousins who'd proven themselves loyal when I had nothing. The Chen board had approved me unanimously as CEO, impressed by my plans to modernize the company while honoring its legacy. Tyler wrote me from prison, a long, rambling letter about forgiveness and brotherhood. I didn't respond. Linda wrote too, shorter, more bitter. You destroyed our family. I did respond to that. There was no family to destroy, just co-conspirators playing house. The Chen fortune transformed my life, but not in the ways Tyler imagined. I didn't buy sports cars or private jets. I rebuilt my company, hired back everyone Tyler had caused me to fire, and paid them for the lost years. I funded Grandpa Joe's nursing home, ensuring no resident would ever be ignored or invisible again. I established a foundation for entrepreneurs who'd been sabotaged by family members. Turns out, it's more common than you'd think. And once a month, I visit Tyler in federal prison. Why do you keep coming? He asked on my latest visit. To remind myself what I could have become. Rich, successful, married to a beautiful woman. No, bitter, envious, alone. You had everything. Loving parents, endless opportunities, my support. You threw it all away for money that was never yours. Easy to be magnanimous when you have $2 billion. I was magnanimous when I was bankrupt. Remember? I still tried to help you even when I was living in my car. I didn't know you were living in your car, because you never asked. Too busy celebrating my downfall to notice my suffering. Tyler looked older, grayer. Prison aged him rapidly, or maybe it was just the absence of mom's protection. The designer clothes, the carefully maintained facade. You know what the worst part is? He said quietly. I actually am smart. I could have built something real. But Mom always said I didn't need to work hard. I was special just for existing. While she told me I had to work twice as hard because I'd never be special. Exactly. She broke us both, just in different ways. We could have united against her manipulation. We could have, Tyler agreed. But I chose to join her instead. I chose to be the golden child even knowing it was pyrite. Fool's gold. Appropriate, isn't it? I was the fool, and all my gold was fake. The Vanderbilt money? Gone. Never existed. Jessica's family fund? Sarah created it from petty cash. The penthouse? Rented month to month with money I embezzled. The Bentley? Leased with forged credit applications. Everything was smoke and mirrors. Just like Mom's entire life. She's worse here than I am, Tyler said. At least I accept responsibility. She still insists she was protecting the family, that you didn't deserve the Chin money, that I'm the real victim. Still manipulating. Still breathing. That's all she does now. Breathe and blame. I left Tyler to his regrets and drove to the Chun Industries headquarters, the gleaming tower in Boston I now ran. Amy was in the boardroom, presenting quarterly projections to investors. She caught my eye, smiled, and I remembered Tyler's question from that text 3 years ago. Would I embarrass him? Yes, Tyler, I would have embarrassed you. By being genuine when you were false. By earning what you stole. By finding real love while you found real consequences. But more than that, I would have embarrassed you by forgiving you, if you'd only asked sincerely. By still being willing to be your brother, despite everything. By choosing love over law, connection over correction. You thought the embarrassment would be my bankruptcy. But the real embarrassment was your abundance. Of chances, of choices, of family who loved you. And you wasted it all for money that turned to dust in your hands. The text that started everything, "Don't come to my engagement party," saved my life. If I'd gone, played along, pretended happy families, I'd never have discovered the truth. Sarah wouldn't have revealed herself. The FBI wouldn't have arrested Tyler and Linda. I'd still be broken, believing I was worthless. Instead, I'm worth $2 billion and infinitely more in ways that can't be calculated. I have a wife who loves me for me, not my name or net worth. I have a father in Robert who chose to stay despite biology. I have a grandfather who orchestrated the most elaborate rescue mission in family history. I have a cousin in Sarah who spent 2 years in deep cover to save me. And I have Tyler, rotting in federal prison, as a permanent reminder that choosing greed over grace, money over morality, always ends the same way. Alone, bitter, bankrupt in every way that matters. The Morrison family group chat still exists, though most members have left. Only Robert, Grandpa Joe, and I remain. Today, Robert posted a photo from Beijing. He's visiting the Chun ancestral home, learning about the family I should have known from birth. Your great-grandfather built this school, his message reads. Educated 10,000 children. Real legacy isn't money. It's lives changed. Grandpa Joe responded, tell them James is coming next month. The prodigal Chun returns home. I typed, not prodigal. I didn't waste the inheritance. Tyler and Linda did. I'm just reclaiming what was always mine. Then I added, and Tyler, if you're reading this from prison, yes, we know you still have illegal phone access, you were right. I would have embarrassed you at your engagement party. But not for the reasons you thought. I would have embarrassed you by being real. And in your fake world, nothing is more shameful than authenticity. The chat showed Tyler had read it. No response. There never is anymore. He's learned, finally, that some texts don't deserve answers. Some exclusions are actually inclusions in disguise. Some embarrassments are actually liberations. And some younger brothers, despite being given everything, end up with nothing, except a text that started their downfall and an older brother who survived their worst and emerged worth billions. Got it, I'd responded to his exclusion. I got it all right. Everything he tried to steal, everything Mom hid, everything I never knew I deserved. I got it all. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Before you go, I've left 2 more stories here on your screen. Both from men who discovered that family isn't always who you're born to. It's who stands by you when the truth comes out. Click on whichever one calls to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it's like to be the outsider looking in, that notification bell is your invitation. Until tomorrow, remember, your story matters, even if they tried to erase it.